Good morning once again, and welcome to Unity of Northeast Pennsylvania, a positive path to spiritual living. My name is Reverend Richard Pacheco, and as always, we are grateful that you are here with us today and joining us on this wonderful 4th of July. So, of course, first of all, happy 4th of July. Have a happy and safe one today. And it speaks volumes when our Sunday service falls on Independence Day, because it's really what we normally come to a New Thought church or a Unity church, is to find our independence from that which has held us back for a long time. When there's that longing, that desire that says we are more than what we think we are, or we are more than what our society or our surroundings or the people around us tell us we are. And that's where we work from. And that's what our lesson is today. We'll be taking from one of our foundational teachings, Emily Cady, Lessons in Truth, called Bondage or Liberty, Which? So it's the moment of choice, the moment to choose. So with that being said, definitely happy to be here. As always, this will be our last Unity-like service where, we'll be running it as a service lesson. And no, it's not a last live. We'll be transitioning back to what we know as a more of a study group environment, where most Unity churches start from, or most Unity spiritual centers start from. So again, you've heard me use the term return to zero. One of my martial arts trainings always talks about that. When we're in a situation where we are not 100% sure what we are to do, or where we're at, or how to release ourselves from a certain situation, we do what's called return to zero, return to the basics of our mind. Same thing here. We're going to return back to more of a study group environment. The book they are using is Finding Yourself in Transition by Robert Brummett, Reverend Robert Brummett. Wonderful man, great speaker. Actually was known as the Yoda of Unity. He did another book that I have taught classes outside of Unity and helped assist with it, which was Living Originally, which again brings us back to that living our best selves. So I know you'll enjoy it. The leaders who will be handling the book, I will still be around for ministerial duties, as well as anywhere else they can help technology. But it's always great when it comes to self-care to take a break. I mean, I just had something recently that scared me, and I've always told you, I'm a firm believer, and I know some people don't like it when I say it that way, but I'm a firm believer that when Spirit says it's time to take a pause, and I don't listen, and I keep pushing and pushing and pushing and adding and try to fit everybody into the puzzle, but I forget that that one last puzzle piece is me, things happen. So part of my bondage that I have to release is feeling like, I owe someone something because of the way it's happening to me. So last week, you may have noticed that my face was a little off-putting, speaking on the right-hand side. Trust me, I thought it was a lot worse than what it was. Turns out to be Bell's palsy. I'm a lot better, and I've only been taking the medication for 4 days. So I am grateful for that. I'm truly grateful that the diagnosis did not come out to my fears. But I felt like, I didn't give you 100% of myself. So for that, I apologize. But again, today, let's go through it. I am truly grateful for the diagnosis I received, and that I can move forward with that. But it also tells me that I need to take a pause. And anyone who's dealt with ministers a long time know that they take a sabbatical, usually after 7 years, for a couple of months to kind of go to groups and participate in their own personal studies. And a lot of people found that when that minister comes back, they're 100%, even 110% from where they were, and they're more excited, more ready to give what they are here to give. So I am truly blessed to have this break at this moment. But again, Finding Yourself in Transition is a wonderful book. I've had it, I've read it 3 or 4 times, especially when I find myself in a transitional situation of where I thought I want to be and where I need to be. So with that, I'm not going to take too much time with your story. We will send out information about Zoom and everything through our social media channels and email as how you can join in on the discussion. Our leaders will tell you more about how we'll be doing this and how things will happen. So with that being said, let's take a moment in prayer. And I want to share with you, as one of the other big things I threw on my plate, is I'm seeking a bachelor's degree in metaphysical studies so that I can continue to help not only build my own metaphysical practice, but be able to share that with you. So if you feel so moved, let us close our eyes. Let us take a deep breath. Just center into this moment, knowing that we are here together by divine order, by knowing that we have been divinely called to this place, this time together, to commune together, whether it is live or later on the video that you join us. But together, let's affirm, divine mind, my creator, whose spirit and light I've lived within me, I affirm and declare that I release myself from dependency of outer sources and instead choose to be free by choosing God as my source and my guiding light. And we affirm, from God's presence within me, I continually receive intuitive guidance on how to free myself on dependency on others, and declare myself independent. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. So again, today is the 4th. Let us go ahead and take a quick peek at our next video, and then when I come back with quick announcements, and then we'll move into our meditation. Oh, welcome back. And as always, we start with our quick announcements. Again, only one announcement. Next week, again, we'll find ourselves in a study group situation. Again, it will be through Zoom, and we will be transmitting it out to Facebook and YouTube. I do have to research how to do that from Zoom. But again, the book that has been chosen is Finding Yourself in Transition, Using Life's Changes for Spiritual Awakening by Robert Brummett. Again, wonderful minister of unity, been here a long time, wonderful books. As you can see, the book is actually available on Kindle, which is how I have it. If you happen to have a membership with Amazon for Kindle Unlimited, you actually can borrow the book for free, as well as you can purchase the book. And a little blurb from Amazon is, our culture offers little help in coping with and overcoming the enormous personal, social, and economic changes that are occurring around us and within our lives. Finding Yourself in Transition explores the spiritual opportunities inherent in life's changes and helps us discover how to use them as gateways to greater personal and spiritual growth. So again, part of my talk today is taking you to a foundational of releasing what you thought you knew and moving into a place of what you are and what you do know, as hoping that last week's spiritual bypass and this week's foundational will help you enter into this study group with a mindset, as the biblical verse says, let the mind that was in Christ also be in you. As always, if you feel so moved to give and help us with the ministry, please go to unityofnepa.org and use our contribute button. If you happen to go on your phone or a tablet and you don't see the contribute button, turn lengthwise and the button will appear. On our YouTube channel, of course, as always, our PayPal link is at the top header at the main page, and you can always mail it in and our office staff will take care of that for you. And as always, other ways to give: Amazon Smile. Again, even though we are opening up and a lot of more things are happening, People still choose, because I see the Amazon truck all the time purchasing. So if you so feel moved, go ahead and choose us as our nonprofit, lock us in. And even if it is a small thing, but realize if 100 people shop and we get $1 for every person, that's $100 that goes through a ministry that helps us do the work we do. So hopefully you'll be there, choose it, and help us out further. So with that, let's quickly just go over our affirmations. As always, the vision we hold: in oneness, we co-create a world inspired by the practice of love, peace, and harmony for all. What is ours to do? To serve our community through affirmative prayer, teachings, and service. And then there is one power, one presence, active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. That ultimate belief system within ourselves, to know that there is one power, one presence that inspires us, that moves us in spirit. And as we find ourselves in transition, it is the center point of where we get our inspiration on how to move through the challenges of life. So with that being said, let us prepare for our meditation and then finally our lesson.
I wonder if I should wear the red or the blue.
Yellow.
The red kind of makes me look peaked, but the blue, needs to be washed.
Wear the yellow.
If I wear a sweater over the blue, then maybe I could hide the stain.
How about the yellow?
Maybe I should wear the yellow one?
What we are witnessing is a glimpse into the average mind in the earthly world of consciousness. A normal and ordinary woman making plans for a typical run-of-the-mill day. However, today we are able to see more. Today, we take an observer's view, and from the depths of the unchanging realm, we are able to detect the activity of divine ideas in action. Beyond the ever-changing outer appearances, we are able to glimpse wisdom in action. We are able to hear the voice of discernment, and yes, we are able to feel the power of judgment in this woman's life. For after all, the average man or woman on a typical day doesn't make it out the door without the ability to evaluate or make choices. But how aware is this woman? What choices will she make? And what outcomes will she create? Let us observe and find out here in the Unity Twilight Zone.
Oh, I don't know.
The yellow is great. Really.
The red doesn't work, and the blue one has a stain. I don't know. What shall I do? I can't make up my mind.
Just listen. You've got this.
Huh?
The yellow brings confidence.
Yellow does help me feel confident.
And it's fresh from the cleaners.
Yes, that's good. The yellow it will be. The boss likes yellow. And I love the boss. And I want the boss to like me. So I'll go out and get yellow Post-its and yellow pens and yellow markers. And I wonder if I could find a yellow stapler. Or maybe a yellow car.
Whoa, Nellie. Attraction is a good thing. But there can be too much of a good thing.
Oh, it's a bit too much, isn't it? But I really do like the boss. And the boss really does like yellow. The boss likes pretzels too.
Like, pretzels are fine, just not too many.
A simple demonstration of divine ideas at work in the life of an everyday woman. And yet, so much more is at play here. The power of wisdom partnering gracefully with the powers of love and understanding. The perceptive evaluative quality of judgment combined with the executive deciding faculty of the will. And all this, a depth of wisdom ever to be tapped, is available to even the most average of us all. And all for us to see here today in the Unity Twilight Zone.
As we begin our time of meditation, let us just take a deep breath in. hold for a quick second as we collect all those worries and anxieties that we're holding on to today. And let's release and allow it to flow right out. And let's take another deep breath in, breathing in that allness and that love and that joy that surrounds us. And let us let go. And finally, one last breath as we center in. And as we breathe out, just let your shoulders soften. Let yourself sink deeper into your chair or wherever you are at this moment, knowing that we are in the presence. And as we talked about, and in our lesson, we will touch on the person who we became due to things being put on us. A meditation that was shared to me was a visualization long ago. And it is that as we step into that point of the world where we now are old enough to be on our own, and we walk through the world, we begin to be placed armor. What the world believes we need to protect ourselves and our being. But as we walk with the armor through life, we feel it becoming heavy. We feel it becoming too protective and moving things away from us. So as we continue to walk in this armor, feel the weight. Feels like the weight of the world on our shoulders. Feel how constricted we are. We can't really move. We don't have the freedom that we seek. And as we continue to walk, we see ourselves surrounded in this white light. And a small, still voice says, remove the armor and join me. So again, inside of us, we feel a quick timid, like, wait a minute, I've been wearing this armor. You know, we hear things like it is what it is. And we got used to that life just being as we've been told it needs to be. And now we're being told to remove this protection. But yet something inside of you, something feels safe, something feels right. And we begin to remove the armor slowly. As we remove the helmet and we remove it from our head, we feel just a little bit lighter. So see yourself and feel the weight being lifted as we remove the helmet from your armor. And as you do that, you feel the light become brighter as you can see the beauty in this light. And you feel that you are now open to receive mentally. And you hear the voice clearer that tells you to continue to remove this armor and join me. And you begin to see now. It's no longer just see, but you can hear. You can feel, you can taste, you see, your five senses are becoming alive as you're feeling new sensations. Let's take a quick moment in the silence as we do this. As we continue on, we remove our arm plates and our gauntlets on our hands. And we can move our hands and outreach. We can reach out, we can touch even further, but now we are of service. We can give, we can hold, we can hug, we can support. We have full range of motion. And we hear that small, still voice says, take off the armor and join us. As we remove our chest plate and our back plate, our heart is now open to send love. We feel that love emanating as we continue our breath out toward the people in our universe. And once again, we hear that small, still voice say, remove the armor and join us. And as we remove the bottom half of our armor, the leg plates, our boots, we feel light. We can move. We can dance in the sun. we can feel this allness. We can feel what's going on, and we know it is ours. This allness, this light that works within us is filling us with joy and excitement and energy that allows us to be who we truly are. And not only do we see the light surrounding us, but we see the light emanating from us as it moves out into the world and people get to see who we are. And we now realize that that voice that said, join us, already was a part of us in this oneness. So let's take a few moments in the silence and just feel this energy emanate in and through us and out as us, and surround the people in our family, in our lives, our friends, the world, knowing that together this oneness that we sit in, this energy that we sit in, is blessing everyone around us and helping them to remove their armor in freedom of today as we release the bondage of limitation and we move into the place of allness. And let us move into a few moments of silence. As we enjoy this newfound freedom, this new release, remember the words of our master teacher who said, we are in this world, but not to be of it. We allow the inspiration of the God within to lead us and move in spirit today. And I decide and I declare that today I have decided to become the best me I can be. I have decided to find the true self within me, that Christ presence that emanates out and through me. And as of today, I affirm that I release myself from bondage and I move in spirit, not only for myself, but for those around me. And in love, I affirm that so it is and so I let it be. And take a deep breath in and let it out. And I say, Amen, Ashe, so mote be, and we let it be. And as you feel moved, begin to open your eyes if it was closed, and let us move forward. Welcome back, and if you're joining us for the lesson right now or you got here late, that's okay. We welcome you again to Unity of Northeast Pennsylvania, a positive path to spiritual living. And my name again, Reverend Richard Pacheco, and I am so grateful to be here. And as I said, as we celebrate the 4th of July, the first thing that hits me in my mind is our celebration of liberty. Of course, it's America being liberated from British rule. In this case, today I wanted to use the time to share a lesson from one of the foundational teachings of Unity, which is Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady. Again, Emily Cady wrote these and submitted them for publication through Unity, and they were asked her to continue. So these became lessons. So when we talk about freedom, you know, we normally talk about slavery, we talk about, you know, being incarcerated, but we have to realize that the greatest jailer in our society is our own minds. It keeps us in a situation, and sometimes it is because our mind sees it as a way of being protective. It is a way of going along rather than getting along. And it is a time where we need to look at ourselves and say, am I truly who I am destined to be? And with age, things change. So let me read the first paragraph in the chapter, Bondage or Liberty, which just jumped out at me when I said, wait a minute, this Sunday is the 4th. What can I talk about? How can I teach a foundational teaching to follow up spiritual bypass as you guys enter into a new era here at Unity of NEPA? So again, in the first paragraph, she's going to talk about the entire book. And again, these are foundational teachings. There's 2 books that were recommended to me. If you're brand new to Unity, you want to go with alternatives, gives you an alternative look at the teachings that we have been given through our lives and allows you to start opening yourself up. And then Lessons in Truth, of course, brings us to the foundational teachings of Unity through the essays and lessons of Emily Cady. So in the opening chapter, it says, in entering upon this course of instructions, each of you should, so far as possible, lay aside for the time being all previous theories and beliefs. By so doing, you will be saved the trouble of trying all the way through the course to put new wine into old wineskins. And of course, that's from Luke 5:37. If there is anything as we proceed which you do not understand or agree with, just let it lie passively in your mind until you have read the entire book. For many statements that would at first arouse antagonism and discussion will be clear and easily accepted a little further on. After the course is completed, if you wish to return to your old beliefs and ways of living, you are perfectly liberty to do so. But by the time being, be willing to become a little child, for as the Master in spiritual teachings taught us, except ye who become as little children, ye shall no wiser enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again, Matthew 18:30. If at times there seems to be repetition, please remember that these are lessons and not lectures. So one of the things we always have to do when we hear a lesson is know that things will challenge us, especially if you come from a fundamental religious background or even from an atheist background. You're going to hear things that are going to tug at your heartstrings. You're going to hear things that are going to play with your mind. There's going to be things that your mind's going to be like, hey, wait, hold on. No. That's not right. But do we know that for sure? So we need to come as children, wondering, that wonder of, what is this? You know, I found this little rock outside. What is it? And they'll spend hours trying to figure that out. We need to come in with that wonder. I love her opening paragraph where it's a opening first statement, which is, every man believes himself to be in bondage to the flesh and to the things of the flesh. All suffering is a result of this belief. The history of the coming of the children of Israel out of the long bondage of Egypt is descriptive of the human mind or consciousness growing out of animal and sense part of man and into a spiritual part. And again, one of the greatest stories in the Bible, of course, is Moses and the releasing of the Israelites from Egyptian slavery. And when we talk about, and we're going to discuss that as I continue going through the chapter with you guys, is where Egyptian or Egypt actually is metaphysical for the lower thinking, our lower selves, that animal thinking, as I said, I just need, this is all I want. That part of us that doesn't rise high and rise above. And we'll talk a little bit more as we move on with that. But it's something that's very important because we tend to, because it's comfortable to be around, which is why we always say, watch the company we keep. Because it is in the company we keep that we begin to build the beliefs around us. So when we have a unity community, it is exactly that, to be like-minded. I didn't say robotic, I said like-minded, where we see where our abundance comes from, where we see where our healing is, where we see and understand where our source is. Doesn't matter the names, the titles, doesn't matter anything we give. We see where it is, and like-minded we bring together, as we say, from, again, hitting into the scriptures, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am. So when we talk about the Christ mind within ourselves, when we talk about setting aside that thinking, that flesh thinking, or that outer thinking, which is what metaphysically it stands for, is that we're entering into the Christ mind. And together we create that energy. And I come down to deliver them out of the land of Egypt, of the Egyptians, and bring them up to the land unto the good Lord, and at large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. Excuse me, it's from Exodus 3, 7, and 8. And when we talk about that, this is a picture, if you want to picture it in your mind, when we talk about a flow of abundance coming to us, we know in unity, we're not looking for money to drop out of the sky. We're not looking for things to fall out of place. We're looking at the abundance of ideas, as Charles Fillmore has taught us, that that's what prosperity comes from. Today and all days, he has been saying to us, his children, I surely seen the afflictions of you who are in Egypt, and again, metaphysically, darkness of ignorance, and have heard you cry for reasons of taskmasters, which again stands for the sickness, sorrow, and poverty. And I am, not I will, but I am now come down to deliver you out of all the suffering, and to bring you up onto the good land, and bring you up onto a good land, and a large, and onto a land flowing with good things. Again, Exodus 3:7, adapted. Old English, my Bible I use is more of the English translation, but it's been a while since I've used the old translation. But either way, here again, we talk about Egypt being the darkness of ignorance, that not knowing, that allowing that outer talks to enter into our brain, to reprogram who we truly are. You know, one thing that was always taught to me was when a baby's born, he doesn't come out with a label that says he's this religion, he's this political statement, he's this, that. They just know I've been taken from a safe place, blasted into this world for some reason, and for right now, I just want to know how to eat, how to be clean, and how to sleep, and how to be loved. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And when we can return to that place where we know where love comes from, where we know where the true self comes from, is when we move into a place of being free. When we move into a place where our consciousness is one with everything around us. Again, each man must sooner or later learn to stand alone with his God. Nothing else avails. Nothing else will ever make you master of your own destiny. There is in your own indwelling Lord all the life and health, all the strength and peace, all the joy and love, all the wisdom and support that you could ever need to desire. No one can give that to you as can this indwelling Father. He is the spring of all joy and comfort and power. Once again, we've heard this. There is no Savior coming. You are your Savior, because it is the indwelling Christ, the indwelling God within you, that allows all of this to flow out. Our job is to tap into that source and allow it to express out into the world for others to see. All joy and strength and good springs up from a fountain within one's own being. And if we only knew the truth, we should know that, because God in us is the fountain out of which springs all good. Nothing that anyone does or says or fails to do or say can take away our joy and good. When I say one of the toughest things about being a minister for a large community or being a minister even to a small group is that we need to move our self-actualized self away. That self, our ego as we call it, a lot of people say it's bad. Ego is not bad. The ego is just the person that we have become based on the information we've been giving. So that ego is transformational. I use, one of my teachers uses the term temporal or temporary because it is something within us that will change and continues to change as we're influenced. So when we go back to who do you associate with, what do you read, what are you watching, because that influences that self-actualization of yourself, and you start to see yourself in these things. I guarantee if you look back in your life, and I've had this discussion with my wife, the situations we were in, depending on who was in our situations, is a lot of times what caused a lot of the problems or the understandings, because we did not know how to tap into ourselves, but we were looking for answers outside of ourselves. So the human intelligence is so accustomed to the sound of words heard from childhood that often convey to it no real meaning. Do you stop and think really or comprehend what it means to be heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ? Romans 8:17. It means every man is the inlet and may become the outlet of all there is in God. It means that all that God is and has in reality is in us and is for us, his only heirs, if we only know how to claim our inheritance. I love when you go back to biblical studies and you think about all the traditional lessons that were given to you. Again, my history, I was raised Catholic. I've been to Catholic school. Then I went to a Jesuit high school. And, all the things you were taught, then as you begin your own study, you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't taught certain things. Where Jesus was, again, being condemned and possibly put to death for the first time, where he says, is it not in your own laws that say that you are the sons of God? And that again comes from Proverbs, if I'm correct. So we hear it. He said it to us, but we don't always believe it because we tend to take the more traditional terms and we allow it to stop the belief that inherent God is within us, that inherent Christ is within us, allowing us to be the best that we can be. We have come to a place now where our search for truth must no longer be for rewards. It must no longer be our seeking a creed to follow, but it must be our living a life. In these simple lessons, we shall take only the first steps out of Egyptian bondage of selfishness, just and sorrow toward the land of liberty where perfect love and all good reigns. When I was studying Kabbalah years ago, they showed me a chart of how from baby to old, how we transition mentally, and in my 20s and 30s, yes, I was, looking for how do I not be part of the poverty of my people? How do I not be part, and prosperity to me surrounded around dollar bills. And my aspiration was to do as much as I could, and that was my focus. And my focus had to change because I had a family coming in, and my goals to get stuff was pushing that aside, friends aside. My goal was study this, read this. Now, there's nothing wrong with that when you have a balance of it. But it is in time that I began to learn. I saw the movie The Secret. I started to tap into Wayne Dyer, Eric Tolle, Deepak Chopra, and watching movies and learning things, that I started to realize that what I thought was my purpose was not. And that's where, as we begin to elevate, we begin to get older, we start to look for meaning. I had a discussion with someone recently. If you're a Wayne Dyer fan, there's a movie and a book. It's called The Shift. It's also called Ambition to Meaning. And it's literally a movie about how as we get to a certain age, we begin to put things away. And we begin to look for the meaning in our lives. As we live the last parts of our lives, we want to leave the world with a meaning. We want to impress upon people. We want to inspire, to breathe spirit into people what is meant for us to do. We must rather seek to be truth consciously, to be love, to be wisdom, to be life, as we really are unconsciously, and let the results take care of themselves. Every man, this comes to the work part of what we need to do. Every man must take time daily for quiet meditation. In daily meditation lies the secret of power. No one can grow either spiritual knowledge or power without it. Practice the presence of God just as you would practice music. No one would ever dream of becoming a master in music except by spending some time daily alone with music. Daily meditation alone with God focuses the divine presence within us and brings us our consciousness. So again, we talk about this. We talk about that in principle number 5. It's not enough to know these truths. It's not enough to join the study groups. It's not enough to show up on Sunday and say, hey, I was here. It is the work that we need to do. And one of the simplest works is prayer and meditation. When you understand what affirmative prayer can do for you, when you understand what meditation can do in that silence, that moment where you realize that you are surrounded and loved in this presence that we know is the allness flowing in and out and through us, and you move in that spirit toward who you truly are, that light of yours expands. That light of yours shows out. That light of yours begins to inspire other people to find that light within themselves. And as I always love to share, is that we all have an individual gift. There are things that I rely on you for because I do not know. And there's things that I hope that I can teach you that I know that maybe you need in your life. When you withdraw from the world for meditation, let it not be to think of yourself or your failures, but to invariably to get all your thoughts centered on God and on your relationship with the Creator and upholder of the universe. So when we release meditation, it's not, okay, we're done, let's go. It is about, now that I am here, now that maybe I took a question into meditation, now that I've done the work, how do I see God in everything? We talk to God, that is prayer. God talks to us, that is inspiration. I love that quote. I love that quote because it reminds us that it's not enough to pick up a phone and say, hey, God, I need, and hang up and hope. It's more about tuning in and understanding who we are and knowing that when we pray and we affirm, we let God know. We know we are the heirs of this throne. We know that it is ours for the taking if we want it, and we affirm it today. And then we listen for that small, still voice on how to move in spirit toward that goal. Again, in a new way that we have undertaken this life of spirit instead of the old self, we need to seek always to have more and more of the Christ spirit of meekness and love incorporated in our daily lives. Meekness does not mean servility, but it does mean that a spirit could stand before a pilot of false accusation and say nothing. Let me take a pause here because, again, we hear it in the Beatitudes where it says the meek will inherit the earth. But we have to realize that meek is not about being poor in spirit. It doesn't mean about standing back and just, okay, we're going to be nice and all that. Or as my wife likes to say, everything is kumbaya and flowers and unicorns. It is about being meek, that soft and silent strength that says, I believe, I know what I can do, and I can stand in front of a Pontius Pilate. I can stand in front of my accusers. I can stand in front of my haters, knowing who I am, what I am, whose I am, and what it is I can do. So to continue, no one else is so grand, so godlike as he becomes he who knows the truth of being and can stand meekly and unperpetrated before the false accusations of human mind. Thy gentleness has made me great. And again, that last line comes from Samuel 2, 2 Samuel, 2, verse 36. We must forgive as we have been forgiven. To forgive does not simply mean to arrive at a place of indifference to those who do personal injury to us. It means far more than this. To forgive is to give some actual definitely good in return for evil giving. One may say, I have no one to forgive. I have not a personal enemy in the world. And yes, if under any circumstance, any kind of served him right thought springs up within you over anything that any child of God may do or suffer, you must have not learned how to forgive. Once again, it is the work we do. One of the things that we do, one of the things that we need to do is to learn forgiveness and what true forgiveness is, not only for the people who we perceive that do us wrong, but for the people that are within ourselves, those thoughts, those ideas. That's what people represents from a metaphysical point of view. It is the thoughts and ideas that keep us down, those Egyptian thoughts that keep us low. And we need to allow ourselves not only to forgive the people outside of us, but to forgive ourselves. Do not be under bondage to false beliefs about your circumstances or environment. No matter how evil circumstances may appear or how much it may seem that some other personality is at the foundation of your sorrow of trouble, God, good alone, is really there when you call his law into expression. The very circumstance in your life that seems heartbreaking evils will turn to joy before your very eyes when you will steadfastly refuse to see anything but God in them. In a prayer class I teach, I show you various pictures, some joyful, some may not be, but it's from a perception. We always talk about that. Perception is personal. And when you get that under your mind, when you start to look at things, your immediate perception may be bad, good, indifference, whatever. But when you look at it through the eyes of God, as we say, or see God in it, you change that perspective as where the good is in that place. Victory must be won in the silence of your own being first. Let there be peace on earth, and let that peace begin with me. Nothing that we want to see doesn't start from within us. Victory must be won in the silence of your own heart first, and then needs to take no part in the outer demonstration of release from conditions. The very walls of Jericho that kept you from your desire must fall before you. So once again, when we talk about freedom, there is work to be done. The meditation, prayers, affirmations, being open to that which is ours, being released, having the wonder of children around us, and letting it be. And in turn, the walls of Jericho around us begin to fall. And we begin to be that light, as I said, for the people around us. So as I end my lesson today, I want to share a story. It's an old, ancient Indian fable, which describes the process of surrendering yourself, to who we truly are. Once upon a time, a lioness fell asleep with her baby cub in the jungle. As the mother slept, the cub wandered off into the darkness and was lost. Days later, on the verge of starvation, the cub was found by a flock of sheep. The sheep welcomed the cub and raised them as their own. Over time, the cub lost all awareness of the true self. The adolescent lion now acted, sounded, and behaved like a sheep. One hot day, while grazing in a field, the sheep were startled by a large beast emerging from the forest. In a panic, they quickly ran in the opposite direction. The lion sheep was frozen with fear. With great confusion, the beast approached and let out a roar that shook the earth. Assuming the end was near, the lion sheep was paralyzed. The magnificent lion grabbed the trembling animal and asked, "Why do you live and act like a sheep when you are king of the jungle?" The lion sheep did not respond. The powerful lion pulled the sheepeth lion to the water's edge, forcing the cowardly lion's head toward the reflection. The frustrated priest exclaimed, "Look, we are the same. Let me hear you roar." In an effort to appease the beast, the lion let out a sheep-like whimper, again demanded the beast. After several attempts, the lion began to hear a familiar roar. With this discovery, the timid lion began to feel the stirring within his body. Memories of his true self were awakening. The young lion stood at the river's edge, feeling a new sense of purpose and excitement. With this excitement came fear of the unknown. The discovery changed his world in an instant. The large beast began to walk back to the forest, turning to let out one final roar as if to say, "Are you coming?" The young lion quickly realized the day of reckoning has arrived. Does he continue to live his safe and predictable life as a sheep, or does he embrace the true self and surrender to the world of the unknown? Looking at the beautiful forest on the horizon, the young lion decides to take a leap of faith. This lion chooses to surrender, so to return to his primal ways to become who he has been, always been, king of the jungle. Well, I tell you that you are king of your world. I say that you are the heirs of this God substance within ourselves, that Christ substance within ourselves. Are you ready to look in the mirror and see who you truly are and let out a roar and take that flight, or are you ready to stay here and be comfortable? And that's where I leave you today. Last week we talked about spiritual bypass. Let's stop using what we know to hide from the world. Let's look in the mirror. Let's see our true selves. Let's let out that large roar and keep roaring till you hear who you truly are, and decide today to move forward as we move through our study groups, as we move back to who we truly are in this place and in this time. And for those that need us out there, let us take today to make that decision. So as always, I am thankful and humbled to be here with you. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move into our ending here as we celebrate together. Enjoy that you have received something from this lesson, and I truly hope you did, and that you give enjoy as we practice the law of circulation and we affirm on our gifts. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we see it going out and doing the great works that's meant for today. And a blessing for our children. We bless you. We love you. We see the divinity in each and every one of you. We see you going out doing wonderful and great things, as you are the generation that will carry this message on to the next. And as always, let us affirm for ourselves as well as for everyone around us, as we keep those that need this prayer most in their hearts. The light of God surrounds me, and let's affirm for everyone that I am light. The love of God enfolds me, and I know that I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me, and I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and I am divine. And so it is for ourselves, for the world, for those around us, those we love. We affirm this to them. And once again, if no one else has told you today, I love you. I am here for you no matter what you need. Participate in the study group, whether it's in person or online. It is a wonderful book. You have wonderful leaders leading it. And I am not disappearing. I am just taking a step back and continuing from the ministerial side of things, as well as your web, your live and everything. So I am still here for you, and I am available by phone, email, whatever it is, to pray with you, to speak to you, to counsel you, whatever you need. So with that being said, one more time, if no one else has told you, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And remember that when we look closely at each other, that big, beautiful divinity in me can see that big and beautiful divinity in each of every one of you. And I hope to see you in our study group next Sunday.